flash up YouTube and get Mint. Where are we? Let's get the Mint stream.
We're live.
Yeah, we're on.
It's alive.
It's alive.
So Tony, I was only sort of listening. How do you install that? It's a repo or it's a Flatpak beta repo?
It's a Flatpak beta repo that they've released. So if you go to that page that's linked in the show notes that I've put in the news, towards the bottom of the page, it's where it says download GIMP 2.99.2. It gives you the instructions on how to do it on the command line.
Nice. That's really cool.
They are saying if you've already got the Flatpak installed of the stable GIMP, it won't show the beta in your menu once you've installed it, so you have to run it from the terminal. But because I haven't got the Flatpak installed, I'm getting the beta in my menu.
Oh, I see. So you got to like Flatpak run it or something?
Yeah.
I see.
Flatpak run org.gimp in capitals / beta command. It says so. Yeah, / beta. That is the command.
Yeah, man, I'm really gonna have to get on that because I want to see what's new. Because I make way too many thumbnails right now to not.
I've been playing around with it. I've been having a look at it, and it doesn't look that much. The splash screen at the beginning is really strange. It's a really different one, but and it comes up in the area where you'd put your image. It's got unstable development version and then numbers, and it says please test bugs against the latest Git master branch before reporting anything. So you can download it from Git master as well.
Yeah. Oh wow. It doesn't look too much different. I mean, the splash screen does, but the actual program looks pretty much the same. Yeah. It's a little newer icons.
So some of the icon set looks a bit cleaner and a bit refreshed.
Yeah,
but not an awful lot. But it's more to do with going over to GTK3, a lot of it. And a lot of the improvements will be under the hood. Because once you've got it installed, the first time it runs very quickly now on GTK3.
All right, you guys be interesting for 5 minutes. I'm going to make me a coffee and I'm going to head back.
Why would we do that?
Because
I need to go get my coffee.
Normally, if I open GIMP, it can take about 10 or 15 seconds to load. If I press open this, it flashes up in about 3 seconds.
Oh yeah! Wow, that was really quick.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Yeah, the first time it took a little bit, and then the second time I opened it, man, it was fast.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I didn't even see the splash screen. Like for like a split second, it came up,
and it was gone. And then
let me try that again
on the desktop.
Holy crap! Yeah, wow, that is really fast.
Let me see how quickly my ordinary GIMP.
Yeah, I don't even have regular GIMP installed.
Yeah, not too bad. It's probably knocks a couple of seconds off the install time. You know, the startup time.
Yeah. Well, definitely opens faster than Audacity does. I know that.
Oh, yeah, Audacity's a pig to start.
Sometimes I wonder if I clicked it right. I hate that. I like click it like 3 times and then 3 Audacity.
You end up with 3 versions of Audacity open. Yeah. Talking about Audacity, have you got your Audacity set up ready to?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't change anything from last time, so it should be okay.
Yeah, don't forget you've got to save.
Yep, I'm gonna.
Yeah, save it as episode 348, and then your initial.
So now, what exactly does that saving do right in the beginning before we do anything?
If you have a crash halfway through, and you try to recover your Audacity while we're still on the show,
that like
it
recovery
helps
thing that
with-
pops
it
up.
helps with the recovery
Okay,
because
all
you've
right.
actually saved it as something. At the beginning.
Right.
I know you're not actually saving any data because we haven't
Right.
recorded any yet, but
That's where I was confused.
it just makes that recovery slightly easier.
Right. Okay,
Mine
that's-
always asks me if I want to recover,
Yeah, mine always asks if I want to
whether I
recover.
save or not.
Yeah, same here. Yep.
But I think it just gives a better chance of the recovery working.
Well, that's good. Yeah, other than that, I have everything else the same, so
Yeah.
it should be good.
Right, I'm going to start the mumble recording as well. Let me just check. I've got.
Do we have the link for the YouTube, or do I need to go find it so I can put it on Facebook?
I can give you the link because I've got the YouTube open.
Okay, yeah, send it to me and I'll put it on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll put it in the box.
Now, is the app image of GIMP, is that the new one too, the beta?
There you go, Joe. I don't know.
I'm about to check it out.
I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought the app image was stable. It'll tell you if it's the beta.
It's on that website. It's just at the bottom.
Does it say it's the beta, or does it say it's the latest stable?
Let me look here.
Because they normally say if it's a beta. I wouldn't have thought it would be with app image.
It says for an easier way to test the build, just grab the latest GIMP continuous build image or app image from GitHub.
Yeah, so you'd have to go to GitHub to get the app image for the latest builds.
Well, I downloaded it here. I'm going to see.
Right, I've started the mumble recording, so we've got that going. That was we recorded distro hoppers, and about 5 minutes into the recording the show, I realised I hadn't started mumble, so we had no backup.
Oh my gosh!
Well, that's happened a couple times on this show too.
Yeah.
That one time where everybody's Audacity failed and somebody forgot to do the mumble recording, and we had to. Well, I think I did the editing that time. I had to pull the audio directly off of YouTube. Thankfully, that was like one of the few times at that time we had put it on YouTube as well.
Yeah. And it actually worked reasonably well, didn't it? It wasn't perfect, but it was a good rescue.
Yeah, it came out pretty good.
Yeah, it came out as a good rescue.
Yeah, that app image is the beta. Yep.
Is it? Right.
Yep. 2.99 it is.
Yeah. 2.99. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's
the great thing with app image, because you can download it and you're not installing it. You're just starting it from the app image each time, aren't you?
Right. It's like a flat pack, except for just a little icon. That's all it is, basically. Yeah. Well, it's a file, but you know what I mean. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like doing that to test stuff, because then you don't have to install anything, so you don't have anything to clean up when you get rid of it if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Okay.
Still waiting on Leo and his coffee.
1959 as well here. Leo's entered the channel again.
Yay.
He's back.
Anybody got any interesting plans for the upcoming week?
This week, not particularly interesting, no.
No,
Thanksgiving.
Me neither. Depends on how the whole thing goes with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, I expect
we're
to
still
do a lot of sitting at home and lifting of heavy things, and maybe go for the occasional bike ride.
We're still in lockdown until 2 weeks on Wednesday.
We're not, but we probably should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
as bad as the numbers are in the Dallas area.
Yeah, it ain't great in Texas, man. It ain't.
Nah. Ain't
Let's
great anywhere,
see.
is it? There was something like 750,000 new infections, wasn't there? In the last, I can't. They said something on our news. I can't remember whether it was in the last week or the last day.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think I'm ready. I got the intro ready. Question mark?
Right.
I think I do.
Okay.
Do we have the right people on?
Yeah. Well, actually, you're right. Let me get rid of that. It's just us four today.
It is.
Yep.
Wait.
Go on.
Okay. No, I counted 4 on the list, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why? That's too many. Because it's I wasn't counting myself. I was like, why is there 5? There's not 5. All right. Really, just us 4. Okay, cool. I think that's right.
You got your Audacity up?
Have you got Audacity up, Leo?
I am ready with it. If y'all are... Actually, you know what? Let me save my project. $8.48.
Yeah.
That's a lot of EPs.
Yeah, it's amazing.
A lot of EPs, y'all.
Been doing this a long time now.
Yeah. I know.
Over 2 years.
Surprised we haven't all been overthrown by the listeners.
Right?
Well, Josh is trying.
I'm slowly.
It's true.
I'm slowly coming into
he's
the fold.
wheedling his way in.
Wait a minute. So wait, Josh, are you saying that you want to run the show now? Because
what? No. Wait, what?
Because if all I got to do is a little bit of wanderings and throw something in the innards, man.
Hey, if
You wouldn't
want
want
somebody
the show
else
easy.
to, do you want somebody else to host every now and again?
I'm happy.
Take
Just
a
say
break
a
or
word.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a terrible host. I already know this. I pause too much, but I'm willing to give you a break.
No, it's not that heavy. But if you want to, yeah, I'm open for that. That's cool. It's a want to thing.
Right. Are we ready for doing our 3, 2, 1 start recording and the 25 seconds of silence?
Yep.
Everyone
No,
ready?
it's got to be Tony. Tony will host next time.
I don't know whether I'll be on the show next time if I'm down in Birmingham.
See, there
I'll
you
just
go.
have
That's
to
what
see.
you do. You're just like, I'll definitely host the show if I'm there. You just throw that in there, and then don't show up. All right, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready if y'all are ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, record. See, we missed Mossy's trucks.
I know, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're ready to do 3, 2, 1, 0?
Ready.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, 0.
0.
Sounded pretty good.
I know.
Low latency today.
And we didn't even move
I
the
was on a
entire
Zoom call. Yeah, I was on
server.
a Zoom call this morning, and the latency was terrible. And we were all within 20 miles of each other.
Zoom was putting you guys in on an American server, I bet.
Yeah, possibly.
On a separate continent, no big deal.
It's fine.
Yeah, they won't even notice the extra 80 millisecond latency now.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, Leo.
All right, because I could just imagine the whole Zoom thing. Everything is like when the news stations throw it to one of their correspondents. There's always that really long lag. Imagine that's what it was like between everybody. What do you think about that? Half a minute later. Well, let me tell you. All right. Somewhere around here. Oh, see, almost forgot. Last little tidbit. I gotta get SSH10, man.
Right.
SSH'd into what?
My desktop, so I can play the music.
Of course you have.
Oh, you scripted it all? That's awesome.
Not really. It's CMUS. I just pointed at the right audio files and it does it.
Cool.
CMUS is fantastic. You know what? The one thing that I want with CMUS is a visualizer. But you can do it, but I think you can't use CMUS. You have to use some other app. Anyway, I'll ramble on about it later.
Okay.
All right.
Right. I'll mute me mic.
All right. Throwing music down now. Welcome to mintCast, the podcast by the Linux Mint community for all users of Linux. This is episode 348. This is episode 348.5. Livestream information is at mintcast.org/livestream. We're in the mintcast channel in IRC at irc.spotchat.org. I think Moss handles that, but he's not there today. So, yeah, we're with you in spirit, at least. If you see something that you'd like to hear about, tell us. Send us email at mintcast@mintcast.org. Join us live on YouTube. Post at the mintcast subreddit. Chat with us on Telegram, Discord, Facebook, or post directly at mintcast.org. This is Leo, and with me today is Joe.
Hello.
Tony Hughes.
Hi, guys.
And Josh.
Hey, how you doing?
We're a light group today. That might make for a fast show. I don't know. We'll find out. We're recording on Sunday, November 15th. First up, in our wanderings, I colorize my terminal, Josh eyeballs an egg roll, Tony gives the gorilla another go, and Joe fiddles with firmware. Then in our news, Raspberry Pi launches a whole new dessert. GIMP is almost ready for GTK 3. In security, Ubuntu's GDM has a bug. In our innard section, we continue to talk on Raspberry Pi projects. And finally, the feedback and a couple of suggestions. All right, well, over the last couple of weeks, I've been up to a few different things, mostly the Pi stuff. So I won't get too far in depth with any of that because we're going to hit that in the main section. For those of you that are listening live in a little bit, for those of you that are listening in a podcast app of some kind in the next episode. So, first things first, I finally put out a video that I meant to put out 5 months ago.
It's a great one.
Yeah, I really like it because it allows me to do, I don't know, more stuff, right? I mean, like you can't get bPyTop in Flatpak, so what do you do? In Linux Mint, anyway. Most other Ubuntu derivatives, well, no, I take that back. Most other Ubuntus have a snap built in, right? So, I mean, you just snap install bPyTop, copy paste like 8 different commands, which is kind of weird, and then it finally works. But I'll tell you why I had to use bPyTop a whole lot more here in just a minute. But yeah, anyway, so Linux, let's enable snaps on Linux Mint 20. That video, I've been sitting on it for forever. Finally put it out, and honestly, now that I put it out, there's even less of a reason to do it anymore. Because most of the people that wanted Snap in Linux Mint wanted it for Chromium. Well, Linux Mint packages their own Chromium now, so you don't need that.
I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure that these other things that you can't get in the repos in Mint that you can get on a Snap.
That's true. I guess it was just, honestly, you're probably right because it was just that those two things happened at the same time. So there was a lot of I don't know, what do you call that? Like crosstalk on that. So what, do you use Snaps in Mint?
Yeah, I use Snaps. It's one of the first things I install because I install the Get iPlayer Snap. That's right. Because it's really nice to be able to run it kind of semi-natively rather than just as a repo.
Well,
Right.
and we'd also all installed the Mumble Snap for a while.
Yep.
Well, let
now
me
I'm
ask you
using
this
the
thing.
Flatpak for that, but
Yeah, Flatpak is definitely where I'm at with that one now. But Tony, let me ask you this. Is it as hard as everybody's making it out to be? Because on every show that I ever hear about Snap being disabled, they make it sound insurmountable for just regular folk.
Well,
Is it really that difficult?
No, I followed your initial tutorial, that very short command that you put up on Twitter, and within 30 seconds, I had Snap enabled, and I was able to download Snapd and download the software I needed. So no, it's not that difficult if you're confident enough in the command line. Where I have a problem with it is if for people who aren't command line gurus or even semi-confident in using the command line, even if it's only copy and pasting a couple of commands,
Yeah,
which
that's
we
really
all
what it
know
boils
you
down
shouldn't do.
Yeah, well,
but we all do anyway.
Yeah, we all do it anyway.
Yeah,
but
well,
no, I followed the upgrade
that...
path, and I didn't have. I didn't have to worry about enabling snaps. So all my old snaps worked, and I can still do sudo snap install.
That's cool. That's very cool.
I guess I'm the only one that doesn't have snaps installed.
Well, I don't have snaps installed on this machine.
Okay.
And actually, you know what? I take that back. I don't have it on my desktop either. Where I did, one of the best snaps is OBS, but I installed it via the PPA on my desktop. But yeah, I mean, it's good. There's no reason that I'm shunning it on purpose. It's just I don't need anything out of it. So it doesn't ever really occur to me to put it in after the fact.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest issue is going to be when people decide to upgrade from 19.3 to 20 when the point release comes, because a lot of people have been holding out doing the upgrade because they normally wait until the first point release comes out. So maybe that's when we'll hear a bit more about how many people feel, well, you should have put snaps in by default.
Well, that's the thing. If you go to snapcraft.io and you click on all the snaps, the popular ones or whatever, Linux Mint is always in like the top 5 or 6 distros up there. Yeah. And that's after you have Ubuntu version, Ubuntu this, Ubuntu that, Ubuntu this, Ubuntu that, Linux Mint. And then it's like Manjaro and other distributions, and Fedora is always on that list as well. But the fact that Linux Mint 20 is so high already, and you have to delete a file. That's quite literally the block. You delete a file, you're done. Once you do that, you're able to do snaps again. And so it's obvious to me that there's a lot of people that don't mind because they're on Mint and they have snaps. Well, at least these popular ones anyway.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That file is available. You can go to it through your file manager, and it might be worth doing a little tutorial about deleting it through the GUI as well as through the command line.
See, here's why I didn't do that. Because that's even more dangerous than running random commands. Because what you have to do is run gedit or whatever your text editor is as root, and or your file manager as root, whatever. And that's what makes it dangerous.
Yeah, because I just used administrator privileges to alter the what do you call it, pulse audio file that you were telling Bo to alter last night. Yeah. And I did that through the GUI, and I had to open the file, the folder that the file was in as administrator before it let me edit it. Right. So yes, unless you know what you're doing, it can potentially be more risky.
Yeah, I guess I could just look you in the eye and say, hey, trust me. Because that always goes over well, right? I think the thing about the command, though, is I can show you exactly what it does. And I do show you exactly what it does.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the video is more important than the tweet that I made, months ago, right, during beta. Because I show you what happens. And if you're, wary about just copy pasta some command into your terminal and hoping that I don't give you a virus or whatever, then, watch. You can actually watch and see what it does. So, and then, just message me. I'll explain more if you need me to. Anyway, So, two things that I'm just gonna glance right over because we're gonna get into it deeper later on is I've been doing A/B testing on Nextcloud between a Raspberry Pi 4 with an external 1 terabyte USB drive versus a way more capable, I guess, horsepower-wise laptop. It's on an i7-2630QM. That thing was a beast back then. 8 gigs of RAM, running the same thing off of a 1 terabyte internal USB. So it doesn't spin down as much. I think that was really the only big deal. But shamelessly hawking more of my stuff, it's good to know that my Nextcloud write-up is still accurate. I did it via, hold on to your hats, Snap. So Snap works fantastic on a Raspberry Pi too. Who'd have thought? So Snap install Nextcloud. There's a few other commands that you got to do, but yeah, it didn't change since mid 2019 when I wrote that thing. But you get Nextcloud 20, which is fantastic.
Is that still running Ubuntu 2010?
Yes, Ubuntu 2004 Raspberry Pi version. And then, yeah, but that's the cool thing because my laptop is running Ubuntu 2004 desktop version, it's 64-bit version, x86, I guess. And the instructions were absolutely identical. I think that's the coolest thing about going from, x86-based hardware to ARM-based hardware. If you're using, and I can't praise it enough, if you're using Ubuntu, it's the same. Like everything is the same. As long as whatever software you're using is available on ARM, it's the same. And that makes your job super duper easy. And I mean, Docker is the same as well, but I don't know. I had the instructions ready to go for Snap. So I was just like, well, let's just see if it's the same. And it was. And I was like, well, I'm not going to break it now that it's working. Other than that, more Pi stuff. Surveillance. I talked about it a while back, looking out the window of my house with a camera. Yeah, finally got that going too. I'm very happy with this. I'll explain more of that later though.
Spying on the neighbors?
No, I guess, technically if they get into my yard, maybe. I'm trying to point it. What I'm working on now is actually getting it to the point where I don't accidentally get cars or the sidewalk in the frame. Otherwise the motion will like kick in every single time, but I'll save that for later. Anyway, the last thing is, and my favorite thing, terminal colors. I got bored, I guess, because I was in the terminal so much doing all the Pi stuff that I got bored of the stock colors. Tango's fantastic, but it got boring. So I found a cool little script that I'll link and check this out. That will just import a bunch of color profiles into your terminal directly. You don't have to do anything. You run the script. Speaking of, copy pasta in your terminal that you're sure is to nuke your entire file system, you copy paste a command into your terminal and it basically runs a bash script from a Git repo, which you can look through and it's actually all it does is terminal stuff. So, or color stuff. So, no need to worry about that. Anyway, then it gives you seriously 400 different color profiles that you can choose from. And I've fallen in love with Monokai Soda. It's so good. I've realized that pink and purple pastels and things like that are way underused in the terminal, and these themes have totally made it way better for me to. I don't know. I enjoy the terminal for some reason. I just enjoy the terminal slightly more right now.
Dude, you need to check out the video I put in. Check this out.
Ooh, okay. What's up with this?
I'll explain it when we get to check this out, but
nice.
You definitely need to check it out.
All right, I will. So I blame, speaking of snaps and BPyTop, as I mentioned earlier, I blame BPyTop for this because I was snap installing BPyTop on my Pi so I could see how hot it was and everything. And they're the built-in themes. Monokai was one of them, and Dracula was the other one. And I've fallen in love with both of those. So the soda theme just added purple, and I was like, yep, I'm done. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. So, Josh, what's been going on?
Well, I've been playing around with Linux gaming a little more, and I've been testing it against Windows in the same games, and trying to stick to the same settings as much as possible. And I found it's not as good as I want it to be, but there are some caveats to that, and one is that I'm running an NVIDIA graphics card, which could be part of it. I don't know if running an AMD card would make any difference at all, but I think maybe it would. And the other part is I'm just using the regular Proton from Steam, and we talked about Glorious Egg Rolls Protein. Proton.
Protein shake. That's Joe.
The Proton, and supposedly it's supposed to have better performance, but I'm not 100% sure because I haven't tested it yet. So that's my next thing that I want to do. But it's crazy because in my one game that I have, Kingdom Come Deliverance, that is one of my favorite games that I like to play, and it is so CPU intensive that I think just the extra layer that it has to go through for the processing is just enough to hurt it. And I get roughly between 15 to 20 less frames per second on Linux with lower graphics settings than I do on Windows. Now, I'm not doing this scientifically at all. I'm just kind of booting into Windows, running the game, setting my settings, and seeing what the average frame rates are in one of the cities in the game, and then doing the same thing on Linux. And I just know that every single time I'm in one of the cities, I get about 50 or so frames per second on Linux, and I'm getting about 70 to 80 on Windows. I'm chalking part of it down to being my Ryzen 2600 because even though I have a 1650 Super, which is not that powerful of a graphics card, I still don't think my 2600 can handle it because even in Windows, whenever I look at my graphics card usage, it's never at 100%. It's always just underneath, unless I have the graphics way down. Then it's another story. Then it does go up to 100. But if I have the graphics where I want them to be, it's always just below it. And another thing I've noticed is that there's a point, I don't know if it's just this game, I didn't test this, but there's a point where it shifts the, not the frames, but in the memory of the graphics, it shifts it between the graphics card memory and the RAM on my computer. And that always makes the game stutter just one frame, and I don't know why, and obviously that only happens when I have the graphics set higher because it's taking more video memory on my graphics card. But once that gets used up, every single time it's got to draw a frame on the regular RAM, it does that, and that's obviously just my graphics card. But so yeah, I'm still on Windows because I need to have that extra frame per second because it's just not as smooth. I get choppiness and everything on Linux still, and on Windows it's just straight smooth. So that's.
I really gotta say that I think we're getting there. As far as gaming goes, we're getting there. There's
much better.
So many
this game
things
wouldn't have even worked if it wasn't for Steam and Proton.
Exactly.
It would have been a pain in the neck to get started. I mean, I will have to say that.
I have noticed the exact same thing. It just looks better on Windows for some reason, and that's a really terrible thing to say. And even with Borderlands 2, which had a native Linux version, the quality just wasn't as good on Linux as it was on Windows. So yeah, I do see what you're saying there, and some of it might be driver optimization. Some of it might be the Proton wrapper because you are getting some overhead from just that bit of virtualization there.
Right.
Yeah, I was calling it the Linux tax between me and Josh. It was because you have to translate everything into Vulkan language,
right?
So it actually runs on Linux, in a more native, faster way.
Yeah, and even in Steam, you can set it to process the Vulkan shaders before the game starts, and I always click that because that does help a lot.
Yeah, with stuttering and things like that. Yeah,
right.
With the AMD driver, which was I was asking if maybe there was something like it for NVIDIA, but ACO, it really helps out in if you've got an NVIDIA an AMD card. Sorry, with a lot of that stuttering, I was having a ton of problems with. World of Warcraft, where it was at some points it was just unplayable.
Well, with Borderlands 3, I have that set up to play on Proton on my garage machine, which is a pretty high-end machine. It's not like top tier, but it's pretty darn good. But it will do the Vulkan shaders first.
Right, that's what mine does. Yep.
Right, and it'll go through that whole process. But I'll kick it off, and then it'll take so long that I'll forget that I've kicked it off, and 15 minutes later when it's done, 15 to 20 minutes later when it's done processing.
Oh wow,
all
that
of a
long?
sudden, dude, it takes forever. There's something wrong, and I haven't been able to track it down yet.
Definitely, because mine does not take that long. Mine takes maybe like a minute at most.
No, there's something wrong, and I don't know what it is. But it'll finally pop up, and yeah, it'll run pretty good. So after it started, I don't have any complaints.
Right, and I've noticed in one game in particular, Divinity Original Sin. That game, the native Linux version doesn't even start in Linux. The Windows version will run perfectly in Proton, and I can play that game with no stutters or anything. That game is 100% fine.
So everybody was complaining about. Well, I guess it wasn't really complaining. It was more just wondering about if Proton becomes wildly successful. Why would any developer have any want to create a native Linux version? And I mean, this kind of goes to that point, doesn't it? The native Linux version doesn't even work, but yet Proton
because they don't
works fantastic.
Focus on it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, it's one thing to make a Linux version, but it's a whole nother one to keep up with it and keep it on par with the Windows version all the time from here on out for just 1% of your player base.
Right. And I mean, I don't really mind that at all. Like, as long as Steam can keep up with the games to, make them run just as well. The little bit of Linux tax that it does take is not that bad, especially if you have a mid-range to a high-end system. Like I know right now, if I had the new Ryzen, the 5600X, if I had that one, I would have no problem. Oh yeah. That's another story.
One of these days, I'll get me an upgrade too. But honestly, what is the answer to that? Do we just say, all right, you know what? Don't give us a Linux version, but how about write your Windows version to be more or as compatible with Proton as you possibly can?
Right, and I think that subsystem for Linux is going to help that a lot on Windows, because a lot of people have been waiting for this so that they can test and write in Windows for Linux.
Well, I think we're going to see things get much better for Linux as these online gaming services come to the forefront. As you know, what is Google's one?
Stadia.
As that becomes more popular, they're obviously going to be running Linux on their back end. So,
oh yeah, they definitely are. Yep.
The optimizations are going to be there. Maybe even some more native writing will be there too once people see that there is money in making it for Linux. So that should help improve things for us.
Stadia just needs to get a lot better.
Yeah,
I've heard some horror stories about it as far as the quality and the service.
Yeah, but with things like that, you're always going to hear where things went wrong, but you're less going to hear where things went exactly as expected.
This is true. Yeah, that's always the case. Just look at Ubuntu. They get flagged for everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about all I've been doing. I've been trying to get that as perfect as possible, but it's so hard. Like I on the Windows side, I actually installed some mods to make it smoother, I guess you could say. And it opens up different graphic settings for that specific game and everything. And yeah, it's just you cannot get it to run that well as on Windows on Linux, unfortunately. I mean, it's playable. It's definitely playable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I like it looking as good as possible. Like I'm really into like the realism and all that stuff. And like I don't care about these shooting games that, like Fortnite and all this crap that don't look real. Like I want something that's real and has a story. And that is the main reason why I play. And when it gets choppy, especially in a fight, if you're fighting and it gets choppy, you're just done. You might as well give up, especially in this game. This game is really hard for fighting. But yeah, so that's just it. So unfortunately, Windows is going to have to stay on my system for the foreseeable future. So on that note, Tony, it's off to you.
Thank you, Josh. So, in the last couple of weeks, me and Moss recorded episode 17 of Distro Hoppers, which is now available on your podcatchers of choice. We've already had nearly 300 downloads in the last week, which is great. As Moss keeps saying, we barely thought we'd get 100 listeners in total. So, yeah, we're doing all right. So I've now installed Ubuntu Studio 2010 on one of the test machines with mixed results again, which I'll obviously talk about when we record the next show. I couldn't get a dual boot to install, but I'm not I had suspicions it might be due to KDE and Calamaris, but I'm not sure now. I'm going to have another go. I might not have given it a big enough partition for the original OS this time around, so I'm going to try again later next week. I did, however, have a successful install doing an upgrade on the install I've got on one of my drives on the desktop PC. I went and found out that you needed to enable the install all distro upgrades rather than just the LTS. If you tick that box, you get the notification that there's an upgrade available, and you can go ahead and do it through the update manager. I suggest if you're going to try this, try it on a test PC or in a virtual machine, unless it's something like Ubuntu Studio, which has got a major change this time because they've upgraded from XFCE to Plasma.
It's a huge facelift. I love the way it looks.
Yeah, it's gorgeous now, isn't it? But if you're doing it on a production machine in this manner, I do suggest you back up all your data, because if you're doing the inline update, you can guarantee if you've not backed up, something will go wrong and you'll lose everything. So definitely back up if you're going to do it on a production machine. I did it on the drive in my desktop PC that's got nothing of value on it. I've got all that data, elsewhere. I've just done a few things on it just to test it out. But yeah, everything went smoothly. I didn't lose anything, but you can guarantee if there'd have been anything important on there, something would have gone wrong. I think we've all been there at one time and another. I've also been playing around with the new beta of GIMP in the last couple of days when I found out about it, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the news section. But it's going to be, eventually, it's going to turn into GIMP 3.0, but more about that later. Other than that, we successfully navigated our 3.5 days of shielding, and my wife was able to have her hospital procedure without any issues, although we're still waiting on the results of the biopsy tests that they're running, so there's still a few bitten fingernails waiting for the results of that. But that's about it for me in the last couple of weeks. My health's still up and down, so I've not felt like doing an awful lot. So I'm going to pass over to Joe.
Yeah, I haven't done much recently. I talked last time about ordering a bunch of PSPs. I got 7 out of the 8 PSPs working. 4 of the 1001 models and 3 of the 3001 models. Although one of the 1001 models has a bad connector for the UMD drive, so replacing the UMD drive isn't going to fix the issue. But I'm going to take that one, and I'll be doing a battery mod on it, which should give it a lot longer battery life. And basically all that is cutting out the UMD drive and putting in a large battery in that section, and using the circuitry from the original battery to keep it charged and to connect it properly to the PSP. One of the other ones had a bad motherboard and a bad screen and was really only good for parts. That's the one that didn't get fixed. One of the 1001s, I spent a lot of time taking it apart and putting it back together because so many of the parts on it were messed up. The power board, that was the one with the bad UMD drive. The faceplate was causing issues, and I think it's because the frame on the thing was slightly warped, but it is working except for that UMD drive. Also, with all 7 of them that are working, I put custom firmware on them in order to be able to play retro emulation and to play games without the UMDs, which will save space and battery life, and makes that one with the bad UMD drive extremely useful still. And I think it came out to, they all have 64 gigabyte micro SD cards in them now, and 5,000 games and plenty of extra space for more games. I've sold one of them as of last night, and honestly, selling one of them made back most of the money that I had invested. And I had somebody contact me a little while ago about buying another one. So hopefully I'll sell another one later today, and that'll mean I'll have made a profit. Now, yesterday, my transmission Docker setup quit working, and I had to figure out why. Actually, it might have been down for a couple of days because I hadn't used it much. I went through a lot of iterations of testing, thinking that I had messed something up. I even tried using a different version of Transmission VPN, which I use along with Docker Chrome to change my IP address for various reasons that we've discussed in the past. I was able to get a different version of Transmission working, but when I had Chrome connected to it, it was not showing a new IP address. It was showing my home IP address, so it wasn't working correctly. At that point, I did something I should have done sooner and did my research, and it turns out that PIA, my VPN provider, had turned off a bunch of the old servers. And it just so happened it was one of the ones that I was using. After finding that out, it was just a matter of changing all the Docker configs on all my machines that use the Transmission Chrome setup, which is all of them, and things were working again. I also checked the speeds I was getting on the new servers, and it is super fast. I know previously I was limited to like 30 Mbps, and yesterday when I was testing, it was up around 160 Mbps. Last weekend, I also did several items on my honey-do list, including rewiring a small lamp into a hanging lamp with a switch. So basically, 3 wires to 2 wire and a switch in the middle. Pretending to be an electrician again, but I think I did a pretty good job. It looks good. Anything to pull out the old soldering iron. I also fixed 2 bikes for my kids to get them back on the road, and I've taken the opportunity to go for a couple of rides with them, which is fun. I may need to get a bike of my own again, because I obviously need another hobby to eat up my time. And also, right after I fixed these bikes, my wife tried to buy 10 more bikes for me to fix. It was a really good price on the bikes, but I'm kind of glad she wasn't able to get them.
Otherwise, we might have had mintCast.
Right. Because I seriously, I need another hobby to eat up my time. Now, at work, with the end-of-year stability, I've been able to do a lot of binge watching of The Big Bang Theory. Man, that show ran for a long time. What is it, 12 seasons? And I think over a week, I was able to make it, including the weekends, so might have been closer to 2 weeks. I was able to make it up to season 7 almost. Also, been doing a lot of playing with the new DLC for Borderlands 3. I'm liking the new skill trees, and I have not tried out the new arms race mode yet. But it has been fun. It's kind of breathed new life into it for me. I quit playing it there for a little while because I got bored. And my wife also brought home a new kitten. It is excessively cute and has a severe case of running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Aw, I love that. Your arms are going to be so scratched up for the next couple of weeks.
Probably.
Until it finds a cubby hole and it gets itself trapped somewhere, and you've got to start pulling things apart to get it rescued.
No. That would be
Unless
so
you have my
horrible.
cat. and then you're scratched up for the rest of your life.
Once you're past the arm scratched up phase, you're going to be in the get off my keyboard phase.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been too bad about the keyboard yet.
Not yet.
He has curled up next to me either while I'm podcasting or while I'm watching something for work, and it is excessively cute. I will admit that.
Yeah, that's about half the episodes that we record. I have my dog within 2 feet of me.
But man, the
time.
other two cats were super angry that we got another cat. I didn't see my old cat for like days, and she just randomly started appearing again and back on the bed and cuddling with us at night again. So I think she's forgiven us for getting another cat.
Yeah, the cold shoulder phase is over.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Well, cool. That means we can head down to the news. Well, welcome to a very, very, very short news section, unless anybody can come up with a couple of more things in the next couple of seconds. But this one's pretty cool. For our Raspberry Pi episode, or at least the front half of it, a new Raspberry Pi. The
Yay!
Raspberry Pi 400.
Yay!
Did anybody order one of these?
No, I haven't ordered one, but I have looked into it, and it does look interesting. I mean, it's a keyboard with a Raspberry Pi built in. It's got essentially the same stats as the Raspberry Pi 400, but it's a completely different board that puts all the I/O right at the back, and it's not just like a Pi 4 mounted onto another PCB.
Right, and it's overclocked to 1.8 gigahertz. That's what I'm interested in for trying it for gaming thing.
People overclocking it to 2.2 and it's stable at that because the cooling's so good. It's really stable at 2.2.
It has so much more surface area to cool the CPU that you can really do a lot with.
Yeah, they've got a nice thin metal shield that acts as the passive cooling, sits on top of the chip and spreads across the whole of the keyboard.
I definitely got to get one.
And they're not bad priced either.
No, not at all.
It's good.
Between $70 and $100, I believe.
Yeah, if you get the kit, which is $100, you get a big book. You get the mouse with the official Raspberry Pi mouse, which some people like and some people hate. You get the power connector, which is $10 or $15 depending on if you buy the official one, and you obviously get the Pi 400. So it's pretty good value, and you get the cables as well. You get a HDMI cable and that.
That's really good because it's such a pain. It's such a pain because, I mean, seriously, micro, mini, HDMI. Yeah, I had the wrong cable at the very beginning. That's just a little frustrating, man.
I think that was some people's complaints about this one, was that it still had the micro HDMI connector, so I'm not sure.
I think it's fine now because I have all the cables.
Yeah. I think the reason they've stuck with the micro is because there's still two HDMI cable ports on it, because you can still plug two monitors in.
Yeah, they're really ramping this thing up to be a desktop PC.
Yeah. The only reason I haven't gone for it is because I think if you're going to do this, you might well have done it as an 8 gig. And I was talking to Les Pounder this morning, and he said, well, that would have ramped up the price a bit. But I still think, an 8 gig version would have been a bit better for it.
Well, see, here's the thing, Tony. Here's what I think is happening. They're just testing the waters with this. If Raspberry Pi 400 ends up, selling very, very well, then whenever the Raspberry Pi 5 comes out, 8 gigs will be more normal on the Pi. And then when the Raspberry Pi 500 comes out, it's going to be exactly what you want, I think.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably be a better CPU, better ARM CPU, and more RAM as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think, ARM's making a bunch of headway now. Because I know every single one of you guys bought one of the new Apple Macs, right? The ARMs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Do you think I'm a multimillionaire?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, I
That's a
got two of them.
2010 Mac, okay?
Oh yeah, there you go. But that joke to make the point that I think ARM is here, and it's here to stay. Between the Raspberry Pi, the Pinebook Pro, the Apple stuff, all of that. ARM is becoming very popular in a lot of different ways. And, what does that mean for us on x86 desktop? Probably nothing for the next 5-10 years, but, ultimately, what does that mean?
There'll be more virtualization in the future.
Ugh, it's so much overhead going from one architecture to the other, though.
But it's already integrated into the server world, isn't it? ARM servers and that. So, it's bound to come to the desktop eventually.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited because, for as much as we don't want to talk about Apple or whatever, the M1 chip is so efficient and has enough horsepower in it to really kind of trade blows with some of their heavier, more wattage hungry Intel counterparts. So, this is how you get good Linux battery life. The Pinebook Pro has fantastic battery life, and it's on an ARM chip, though it's not quite as low powered. I think it trades blows with the Raspberry Pi 4, but the fact that the Raspberry Pi 5, the new chip that comes out, Pine's not going to be caught on their laurels on this one. They'll ramp up as well. It's going to be really interesting to see what we can do in the next 2 or 3 years with an ARM chip on Linux. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be the thinnest laptop you can get your hands on. Give me an aluminum case. I'll buy one.
Yeah, I think that Raspberry Pi is looking to do a laptop themselves. It's just they got to get there. They got to test everything out before they get to the laptop. It just hasn't been feasible yet.
Because what's left to do? All you got to do is slap a trackpad and a monitor on that thing, and the Raspberry Pi 400 is basically already a laptop. So and a battery, I guess. But yeah, that's a really good point. I think that may be where they're ultimately headed. The Pi Top, Raspberry Pi Top.
Yeah, it's a little bit more work than that because you'd have to have a charging circuit on the board, or they'd have to have a sister board with the charging circuit on it.
Oh, you need a battery.
They just bulk up their the USB-C stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I'm sorry. Just any USB-C pass-through battery will do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. When the Raspberry Pi 5 comes out, when the Raspberry Pi 6 comes out, I think you're right. It's going to be interesting to see if they come out with a laptop too. I would probably be one of the first to buy one. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah. I think it'd make a great portable PC to take around with you for if you're going on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, for the it's being sold out, I'm okay. I can wait. I will wait as long as it takes, but I want one.
That's true.
Oh, you and I both ended up waiting for the Raspberry Pi 4 gig when it first came out.
Yeah, we did. Those things were sold out. Immediately,
within
and then
minutes.
it took months for me to get one. Not they were back in stock, and then it just kind of fell to the back of my mind, and I was like, I guess I'll get one now through some Joe prodding.
yeah, a little bit of Joe prodding.
Well, I appreciate it now because it made for a whole entire Linux innards.
Yeah. I don't even know if I want to pick up the 8 gig yet.
Yeah, I don't know if I need it. I don't know. Maybe as they age a little bit more and I start doing more with them, I'll pick up more RAM. But 4 seems to be a real nice sweet spot for it. For server applications, anyway.
Yeah, unless I was doing full desktop, I wouldn't get the 8.
Right. I think that's where, Tony, you were talking about it. As a desktop, 8 is going to be the nice sweet spot. I was talking about
it more as either a second driver or a day-to-day driver as a desktop. I think 8 gig, most laptops now come with 8 gig, don't they?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for the most part, except for the $200 ones.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that little bit of wriggle room. And Les Pounder reckons that you don't really need it, especially if you're using Raspberry Pi OS, because it's optimized to the limit for it. But as people start using it as a day-to-day driver, then they're going to have potentially going to have more than one and possibly 3 or 4 different programs running at the same time. So it's nice to have the wriggle room.
All right. Well, Tony, you brought this one up too, and I'm really kind of excited for it. Not because I have, crazy high DPI screens to use it with or anything like that, but GIMP unstable builds let you test features coming in GIMP 3.0.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. I'm excited for this.
Well, I actually installed this after I discovered it yesterday while we were having the chat on, the pre-show chat last night. And it's quite nice. It says on the website, there's a link in the show notes to OMG Ubuntu, where they talk about it and tell you how to get it using the command line. There's a download at the bottom of that page, and it gives you the 2 commands that you need to do to get the FlatHub beta for the Flatpak, and then to install it. And they do say if you've already got the GIMP Flatpak installed, it won't show up in your menu, so you'll need to start it on the command line. But I'm running Mint 19.3, and because I've got GIMP installed, but it's just the repo one, and the beta one is showing up in my menu. So maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. But anyway,
mine didn't when I installed it.
Yeah, and Josh was. Installed it as we were before the show.
Yeah, I literally did it right before the show.
And it starts up like lightning, doesn't it, Josh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like 2 milliseconds. It's like up instantly.
It's brilliant. But the big change to the release is they're moving to GTK3. So this is going to enable a lot of future development once the stable version comes out, because obviously GTK3 is now the main version, and so everything that is GTK at the moment on the current GIMP is GTK2. So they're having to redesign it from the ground up to take advantage of GTK3. But there are a few things that they've already started to implement, like Leo said, improved high DPI support, better Wayland support, multi-layer selection, new plugin API. There's quite a few things, but I'm hoping in the future we're going to get better color rendering and things like RGB and things like that. But check it out. You found the app image, and I've just noticed that there's a link to the app image actually on the OMG Ubuntu site at the bottom as well.
What?
If you want to
hang on. All right, that means I can do this on the show. All right, sweet.
Yeah,
yeah, it's super easy. You just get it. And
it's a download
it's just as
for
fast
the
as
app
the Flatpak.
Yeah. So if you don't want to install the Flatpak, go and grab the app image and play with it that way.
Yeah, like app image is fantastic for this right here. I'm like, I just want to get it and play with it. I don't care. I don't want to have to do any whatever. Just gimme. That's fantastic for that. But once I add it to my tool belt and it's a long haul kind of thing, I want it from Flatpak so it stays up to date. All right, so I gotta put running GIMP 3.0 on hold real quick so we can talk about Elementary OS. It's one of I feel like Elementary OS sits one rung below Ubuntu, right? Because we are downstream. We take a lot of Ubuntu and then add a lot of Cinnamon on top or whatever desktop environment there is, but a lot of XApps on top as well. But so does Elementary. I feel like Elementary is a sister distribution to Linux Mint. We are more the same than we are different. And that includes things like Zorin OS. And there was another one I had in my brain that is escaping me right now. I'm going to feel dumb in a minute when I remember it. But the cool thing about Elementary OS, something that Mint has kind of done, is their dark mode. So they recently had a blog post where they kind of go through where they are progress-wise for the dark style that will be made available in Elementary OS 6, Odin. And it's looking like it's really coming together. It's just fantastic. It's if I don't know. They take a lot of design cues from Edwida, right? I think that's how you say that. The default GNOME skin, but they they add their own spin on it. And one of the fantastic things that they're adding in alongside with the dark mode is accent colors. Yeah. Yeah, starting to sound real familiar to the Linux Mint welcome screen, but this is fantastic. I'm so glad that other distributions are kind of going that way. Because little things like that, dark mode is pretty big, I think, but little things like, do you want blue as your accent color or orange as your accent color or purple or gray or whatever, just to add some flair or mute it a little bit and give users the freedom to choose it's fantastic, especially in a distribution like Elementary where changing the theme in it has not ever been not ever been anything that the developers ever wanted you to do. You're meant to just use it as it comes, and the fact that you have this capability now is just fantastic. So I think one of the most interesting things about this is that they are really putting a whole lot of thought and work into what it means to actually go dark mode. I don't know that Linux Mint and the whole team put this much thought into it, because there are some things that I see that just are not consistent. And one of the ones that's just burned into my mind, because I tag a lot of MP3s, got to put out the show, right? Is easy tag. And when you flip to a dark mode, it will, and you're dealing with multiple directories, it likes to highlight each individual directory for you in a different color. Well, when you flip to dark mode, the text and the highlight is such that if you're on an even number directory, so not the first directory, but the second directory, not the third directory, but the fourth directory, and you look at those things in that directory, you can't read them. It is like a really light blue with white text. Yeah, I can't read that. I got to highlight everything to be able to see each individual line. And so I've taken to just doing one directory at a time, which is annoying, but it's an artifact of going dark mode without thinking about all of the implications of that. So this is something I know will get worked out in Linux Mint eventually, but it's something that Elementary is putting in the forefront. Before they ever release one, they want it to be as perfect as they can get it. All the bugs that they've seen, squash them before you put it out. And so it's just the difference in design philosophy, because they go into, in their blog post, they talk about, what does it mean to open up an email application, click on an email, and the email's background is blinding white when you are on dark mode, right? Those kinds of things really mess with you when you think you're in dark mode. And then it's like, hey, guess what? This thing that doesn't respect your dark mode theme, boom, right in your face. So it does make for some not desirable experience, I guess. But the last little bit on this is their Flatpak support. So it turns out that Flatpak contains its own G settings, which would be where you would define using a dark mode. So they're just kind of, they have not decided yet. They're hemming and hawing about how exactly it is that they want to announce that you should use a dark mode to a Flatpak, because I guess the more logical way to do that in G settings, the Flatpak has its own. And sharing those settings is not the way Flatpak likes to be done. So they were looking at using dbus instead. So I just really respect the amount of work that they're putting into looking at how dark mode is going to affect this and that, and even the smallest little detail. It's just a fantastic look at well, if nothing else, how much work actually goes into just, well, we don't want to just slap a theme on it. We want to care about it. And this is how much you have to care. Anyway, well, that'll do it for the news. So let's head down to the security update. All right. Speaking of Ubuntu stuff, oh boy. So there is a bug in Ubuntu's GDM3 implementation that allows root access, sort of. But yes, it does. So this is this one's a kind of a scary one. This is I guess this is what why you don't want to just not lock your laptop when you stand up and walk away? If you ever go into a security class where they ever talk about exploits, they'll tell you every single time, physical access is everything. And a lot of times that means that you just left your computer logged in and walked away to the bathroom for 20 minutes. And
physical access is king. Doesn't matter if it's Windows or Linux or Mac or anything else.
Exactly. And, we say that because, while it is secure in general, you would only ever lose your own stuff. I mean, that's horrible already. But, you can totally take root. You can get root access on a box like this, even if you don't know your password, right? Because you might be thinking, oh, well, if I haven't signed into the terminal or if I haven't passed my my password in the past couple of seconds, what could they possibly do, right? It would ask them for my password. Yeah, here's why it's not going to ask for the password. So there's a bug in GDM3, in Ubuntu's GDM3, coming from 1604. This is 1804. This is 2004 and 2010. There is a bug that if you create a .pam_environment file in your home folder and then just link it to dev0 so that it just points to dev0. So when you look at PAM environment, it's basically taking you to a device that just gives out zeros, right? So there's nothing in it, basically. If you do that, then open region and language, the application, right, to change your region or change your language. It's going to freeze. That will freeze. And the accounts-daemon process, daemon, it's going to peg it at 100%. So, outside of the fact that even if you just do this right here is enough to cause a denial of service, right? Because you don't realize, but your laptop is running a little bit hotter. Well, maybe you do if you have it on your lap, right? It will just keep running at 100% forever, and then it'll kill your battery. And you're gonna be like, I don't know why. And then you reboot, and then everything may or may not be fine until you open up region language again. But it's not something that you open up a lot, so right? It wouldn't happen but the once. But you can take that further now. If you send the sig stop signal to accounts.daemon, well, that'll stop the 100% CPU thing, but it doesn't fully kill the process. What you want to do after that then is run a command. nohup bash-c, and basically what this is saying is in bash, I want you to run a command that will not stop after I log out, or after I log out. And then it tells it, sleep for 30 seconds, so do nothing for 30 seconds. Kill sig sev, the process ID, and kill sig cont, the process ID. And what this is basically going to do is it's going to crash it and then start it back up after 30 seconds. So run sig stop, log out, or I'm sorry, run sig stop, run that multi-part command, and then immediately log out. What's going to happen after this is a new user creation window will pop up. And you have the authority to add that user to the admins group or the sudoers group. And there, my friends, is root access. And it's quite literally easy. This is one of those things that script kiddies can easily wrap their heads around. And if you leave your Ubuntu laptop logged in, and you step away, this takes less than 3 minutes to do. Less than 3 minutes if you have the commands committed to memory. So, crazy stuff. That's not great. But, again, this is just good security hygiene, right? Take your laptop with you. That's the better option. Or just at the very least, lock your laptop before you get up and walk away. So, yeah, if you're on a desktop and you're in a public area or something like that, then just lock it. Or even better, log out would be a good thing to do. And you can avoid this altogether. This is not something that, some attacker can do over the internet. So don't be afraid of Starbucks just yet. At least not for this reason right now. But yeah, it is a concern. So be aware. Be aware. Surely there will be a fix for this coming up real soon. Anyway, Moss wanted me to note that there is a ransomware for Linux. We knew that ransomware has been on Linux for a long, long time. I mean, there's just ransomware for anything, right? A lot of the ransomware is, drive-by type stuff from websites. So it can be one of those things where, it's all cross-platform in the first place. But Ransom EXX was a Windows ransomware that has been obviously ported over to Linux. Now, while everything is not exactly the same, you can see that there are bits of code that are quite literally copied and pasted from the Windows virus source code to the Linux ELF source code. And that just makes for some really, really interesting, I guess, conversation, to be honest. I mean, you're so lazy, you couldn't even write your own virus. You had to steal a Windows virus to do it. But I mean, this is actually a pretty important Trojan, because it knocked over the Texas Department of Transportation and Konica Minolta. So now this one is it's floating around on the Linux side. So nothing really to worry about, to be honest with you. It's not like anybody just runs around and gets this or anything like that. But just it's interesting to note that a Windows virus is now a Linux virus. Anyway, well, that'll do it for our security update. So we'll head on down to the Linux Innards. Pi stuff. In the innards, we're going to look at a whole lot of Pi stuff. I've been doing projects with the Pi. Joe's been doing projects with the Pi. I think, Josh has been doing projects with the Pi. Tony, have you been doing projects with the Pi? Oh, Tony just left the channel. All right. I will ask Tony if he's been doing Pi projects in just a little bit. Yeah, that might be him.
Can you hear me again?
Hey, there you are.
I was trying to say I was having problems with my audio. Can we do, before we carry on, can we do a 3210? Because Audacity may have crashed as well.
Sure. Yeah. Hang on. Let me get a clap in here, and that way Owen can know to cut this bit out. Hey, there we go. All right. So, 3210. Let's go.
3, 2, 1, 0.
0.
That'll keep Fuzzy happy.
There we go. And I'll just do a whole nother intro to the to the innards. That'll make it real easy. So in this Linux innards section, we're going to be deep diving into Pi stuff. So Joe's been doing Pi stuff. I've been doing Pi stuff. Josh has been doing Pi stuff. Tony, have you been doing Pi stuff?
No, I've not done much at all.
Nope.
Apart from
so
reading
make
up
sure
about the 400.
So make sure you chime in and talk trash about all our Pi stuff. So Joe, what have you been doing with Pi stuff? What's been going on in the world of Tasty Pi?
Well, a lot of this is stuff that I've mentioned before in my bi-weekly wanderings. As a matter of fact, normally this would have gone in my bi-weekly wanderings. But this is kind of bringing all of the various things I've done in the past together, so I wanted to go over it one last time. After setting up Ubuntu 2010 on the Pi, I had to redo the setup for SSHFS. I also wanted to start with some fresh drives, so I formatted all the drives and started the setup from scratch using those 4 repurposed 2.5-inch drives that I had ready to go, the ones that I 3D printed the mount for so that they could all stay together. I was setting up the Pi to be a Repetier host as well for my 3D printer to test out how well that worked. I did have to compile it from the source because there really isn't a Pi application for it set up. It installed and it opened, but whenever I attempted to connect to the printer, the Pi would freeze. I didn't check. It might have been because it's the 4 gig version, but I don't think so. What I could have done instead was pull that micro SD card, and then there is actually a Repetier image. I could have run it that way, but I'm short on SD cards because they all went into the PSPs, and I don't want to overwrite the Ubuntu 2010 image that I currently have. The SSHFS setup is not difficult. I set the Pi to automatically connect its startup to my server over SSH using compression, and that's so that all the drives from my server look like they're locally mounted on the Pi. This does require to set up passwordless SSH using keys, which is something that I tend to do between all of my machines anyway, just because of how much I use the different machines. The SSHFS connection was set up using cron at reboot because I was unable to get it to work using RC local, which I believe was trying to do the connection before the network was up, and if up and if down just plain didn't want to work for me. I also set up my server and my laptop to auto reconnect on internet connection, so whenever the machine itself gets an internet connection, it's automatically going to do this. It will connect back to the Pi so that I always have what appears to be local access to those 4 drives, plus all the drives on my server, so long as I have an internet connection, and those 2 are using if up and if down, and that works perfectly. This was a simple setup, so I also made the Pi my gateway for SSH and X2Go to the rest of the machines in my house from an external IP. Failban was really easy to set up and get going. I mean, sudo apt install failban, and you're basically up and running. Then, after all of that setup, the fan started going out on my Pi case, and the noise was completely unbearable. I do need a new case, and I did shut the Pi down because I was really tired of listening to it out in my garage. So I had to go back in and reset up my server as my SSH gateway to the rest of the machines in the house. Not that big a deal, but it was a little bit annoying after getting it all done. And that was really my project. Wow, that went by super fast.
Yeah, it did. Well, I got some. Okay, so I got some thoughts on the fail to ban thing. I really want to use it on one of my Pis, but I cannot. So we get to talk about the alternative to that.
Why couldn't you?
Let me get there. I will get there. So let me intro this first, and then we'll talk about why I can't just throw fail to ban on there. One of my 2 projects was video surveillance on the Pi 0W. Yay! So this is something that I've talked about and gotten half measures done, and I got still shots done a few months ago. But it was basically cobbling everything together using Motion, which is the package on Ubuntu or Raspbian that you can install that will handle the camera and let you do still shots, videos, things like that, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff that I guess there's a lot of work that goes into setting it up to respond to motion. It's hard. Long story short, it's hard. So I got to thank C. Chrisan for putting Motion iOS together, because quite literally, it is so easy to just flash your card, add on your Wi-Fi credentials in a configuration file before you boot it up, plug it into your Pi Zero, boot it up, and log into it. And then you can just start tweaking all the little settings from here, there, and everywhere. I think it's just fantastic. The amount of work that he must have put into that to make it as easy as it is. Thank you. Wow. And I'm telling you, you would have to take it a little bit further for you to get text messages or Telegram alerts if if a new video is created. But I don't see any reason why you couldn't just add a bot to a Telegram channel or a Discord channel and just do a bash script to trigger every time a new file is detected or something like that. I mean, just you could make that happen, and that's worth how much did Pi Zero cost me? Like $40 with all the bits and bobs. If I did it again, if I bought a second camera, it would probably cost me $20.
It's actually probably easier to do it with Twitter than Telegram or Discord, because all of that's already all set up. I mean, there are scripts galore to be able to from command line send something out to Twitter.
Yeah, I guess it's like a DM, huh? Something like that. Yeah, that might work. That would be okay. So I guess all the messaging services are mostly public anyway, so using any of them would already do that. So, but still, so it's a fantastic product. And after you buy, because you got to buy like the mini HDMI, not micro HDMI. I was complaining about that before, and what is it? USB? I don't know, the little tiny one that a lot of the old phones used to use. You buy that dongle so you can use regular USB stuff. But after you make that initial purchase, you're
the
done.
micro USB OTG.
That's it. Yep. And then the micro USB power. So that's all you would need. You would need a case, a Pi Zero W, and power. After your first initial purchase, getting all the bits and bobs, you would just need those three things, and that'll cost you about $20. And I think that's fantastic. So I can outfit every window or crevice of my house with a camera for $20 extra and a little bit of elbow grease, I guess. But
it kind of reminds me of a project I did way back when, before the Pi came out, using a netbook. Yeah, it was or a really old laptop. I can't remember. It's been so long. And a motion sensor and a camera, and then I just had it automatically email me whenever it took a snapshot.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Honestly, actually, I'd take that back. 20 extra bucks for the camera. I'm like, yeah, the Pi totally just comes with a camera. No, it does not.
Right.
But yeah, thanks for saying that about the camera. So it'd be about $40 for a new one, which is still a lot cheaper than your Amazon this or your Google that.
I had a lot of problems in the past with like the Pi 3s and the Pi 2s hooking up USB cameras. I know a lot of other people never had the issues that I did or didn't have them as bad, but anytime I would try to use a USB camera on one of those, it would just either take pictures so bad that it wasn't worth it, or it would basically lock up the Pi. Now I know you can get around that somewhat by using the Pi camera, but I'm sure with the Pi 4, any USB camera would do. So walk into your local consignment shop and buy them out of USB cameras.
Yeah, I mean, if they're cheaper than $20, do it, because the Pi camera is $20. But here's the thing about the Pi camera: it ain't USB. It uses their camera little ribbon cable connector, which is fantastic. Meaning you can hide it in there with the actual Pi itself, and that's what I've done. I got the Pi Zero with the little camera hole case for $5, and that's fantastic. So I love this thing. I love it. And if you guys want to see, because Joe was talking about quality, if you want to see what quality this camera can do, and I'm talking, you can crank it up even more than it is right now. But if you want to see the quality, join Telegram Discord, and I'll send you a what do you call it? What do you call that? A video. A video. Actually, you know what? I might even tweet it out as well. That way you can see what kind of quality we're talking about.
Yeah,
but it's good.
Be interested in that.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
With mine, I had a USB camera set up, and well, I'll explain in mine, but it was bad.
Yeah, okay. So and this is using the actual Pi camera. So I wonder if there was some care, some TLC that was done to make sure that this camera is, number one, really good, but number two, works really good with the Pi, and number three, takes good quality pictures and video.
There were a lot of complaints and issues about the USB bus on the 3 and below, on the Pi 3 and below, specifically because so much was going through it, and it was so limited to begin with. I mean, that's where your Ethernet was coming through, and if you had a USB camera hooked up, guess what? You're really limiting how much you can use it.
Yeah, and I think this is the biggest reason that I went with the Pi W0 or Pi Zero W, whatever it is because I wanted it to do one thing. I wanted this piece to be an appliance that I plug in and reboot every couple of months because for some reason there was a bug and whatever. I mean, and to say that you don't do that with other devices, just unplug it and plug it back in, is kind of giving you too much credit there.
I've kind of considered getting that physical hardware set up, but the only problem is I read online, because I wanted it for Octoprint, that there just isn't enough processing power to run Octoprint and a camera on the Pi Zero W.
Yeah, I can believe that because the camera itself, when it's watching for motion and you are watching through it, like you go to the Motion Eye page and actually stream what's coming out of that camera. Yeah, it's 100%. That CPU is running at 100%. So there is absolutely you run top and just watch it. There is 0% idle the entire time, and this really comes with how many frames per second that you're recording. But I wanted it to be pretty high, not on the streaming side, but on the recording side. I wanted it to be high so that I had more frames to be able to say, let's say there was a face that I needed to capture or a license plate I needed to capture. I wanted as many frames as I could possibly get to get a good shot of that, whatever it is that I wanted a good shot of, because, there's movement. This whole thing is about motion. So yeah, you need a bunch of them. So the higher the frames, the better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
give it a break. Give it a break though, because it is only a $10 computer.
No, exactly.
True.
And that's why I think it's so fantastic that I can do what I'm doing with it. $5 power, $5 case, $10 computer, and a $20 camera.
Yeah.
All
when you think Joe said he did similar thing with an old netbook. Those netbooks used to come with 512 meg of RAM and probably a CPU not much more powerful than that.
Yeah, it was similar resources, which is why it reminded me of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got that one. It's now looking out my front yard. I've got this huge window in the front right next to my door, so I don't have to actually put the camera outside. It's just sitting on my windowsill. I want to get a little suction cup thing for it so I can hold it and angle it a little bit better. But yeah, that's another $5, I guess. So for my first one was about $60 all together, but every subsequent one will be $40, and I think that's fantastic, man. For a roll your own, do it yourself thing. That I'm not a fan of everything being IoT and everything being cloud connected and everything being attached to your Amazon or Google account or whatever. So this hits that sweet spot for me. And even if it does turn out to be more expensive, I'd rather do this.
Yeah.
But let me tell you why I would rather not do this. After all of that, let me tell you. Okay, so the first thing is there's no way that I can see to turn on HTTPS to log into the web interface. And, you kind of need a password to get into the web interface, and it's kind of over Wi-Fi. And that means that you can basically sniff the traffic in my general vicinity to maybe capture that password while I'm typing it in. So, but that you have to be on my Wi-Fi. You've got to break that encryption too. So, I mean, technically there is a layer of encryption already there, but yeah, I don't like HTTPS anymore. I mean, I'm too paranoid for it, but it's fine the way that it is. I'm going to leave it. It's not that big of a deal. The other thing is Joe alluded to with the fail to ban thing. So this is not based on Debian. It's not based on Ubuntu. It's not based on Raspbian. It's oh wow, I had the name of it and then I totally missed it. But it's basically the interface that you have is BusyBox. There's no apt. There's no DNF. There's none of that. You can't just go out and get packages. If you wanted fail to ban, you'd have to install it or compile and install it yourself on the Pi Zero. so I'm like, maybe not. So what I think I'm going to do in this case, to add myself a little bit of security, is to take the IP addresses of my desktop computer, my wife's desktop computer, my phone, and my wife's phone, and just add in through IP tables, because IP tables lives in there. Adding it into IP tables, saying, over this port only allow these IP addresses, easy peasy. And because it's HTTP, yeah, it's going to be a different password than all my important stuff. But yeah, hopefully it will be long. So, at least there's that. But yeah, no fail to ban. I'm going to have to do it manually with IP tables, just doing that's right. We're changing the language. It's no longer black and white list. It's allow and deny list. So a 4IP allow list is what I'm going to go with.
Do you want the paranoid solution?
Ooh, yes, please.
Okay. Well, first, that whole setup should have some kind of blacklist set up to it, right?
You mean like in the web interface?
Yeah, some way to set up a blacklist.
Not that I saw. That's why I was thinking IP tables.
Oh, okay. Yeah, basically you block everything other than localhost, and then you set up a VPN connection to it.
Oh Lord, does yeah, but the Pi Zero would have to run
The
the VPN as
server.
well. Oh
Yeah,
no!
and
Oh no! That's
the
too
overhead
much.
might be a little difficult.
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna kill it. That's why I'm thinking IP tables is probably the simplest yet most involved solution. Because I mean, I have to remember how to write IP tables rules.
Yeah.
That's hard enough, man. All right, and the other project I've been doing, I mentioned in my wanderings, is A/B testing between Nextcloud on the Pi 4 and Nextcloud on a much more capable laptop that I've got. They're both hooked up to their own 1 terabyte external drive for storage, and here's the kicker, man. I can't tell. Outside of when you're logging in, you know that external drive has already spun down, so it's spinning up, so it takes about 6 seconds for you to get in and do everything. But once you hit that, and this happens on the laptop too, because it's low powered, you know, it means to spin down its disks because it is trying to conserve power. So they both kind of suffer from this. But once you get in, I can't tell. I literally cannot tell the difference between running Nextcloud on a Pi 4 versus running Nextcloud on an Intel i7 4-core, 8-thread, you know, behemoth of a Sandy Bridge processor. It blew my mind. I was totally expecting to be like, I'll try this for mintCast and, you know, report back on it and say how horrible it was and say the Pi 4 is good for other things. Nope, it's good for this. It is fantastic for this, so much so that I'm thinking about decommissioning Nextcloud on that laptop and dedicating it to just be a Docker box where I do all my Docker playing on that laptop from here on out. I need to go buy an SSD now though. But I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Yeah, something as heavy and database pokey and everything as Nextcloud just runs like a dream on a Pi. So, yep, this Pi 4 may just live there forever now, which means I got to buy 4 more Pis so I can do 4 more Pi projects.
Oh.
It's never ending, Joe. Whoa.
No, I have 2 Pi 0Ws that I'm still waiting for a project to smack me in the face for. But I'm all out of 3Bs, and it's kind of sucks, especially since you can't get used 3Bs anywhere for anything other than what you would normally pay for a new one anyway.
Yeah, might as well just go with the Pi 4 at that point. But
Yeah.
I forgot to mention on the Pi W0, you said it, and I looked at my Pi stuff, like all the dongles and everything, and I was like, oh yeah, the whole other thing I'm gonna buy another Pi Zero, another case, and another camera, but this time I'm gonna buy the Noir camera. So this is the night vision one, so I can put in the back of my house, because we always hear jumbling around in the backyard, not in the backyard, but like in the back alley, and you know it's 98% of the time it's cats. But, you know, it'd be nice to know and just log into it and see what's going on back there. And, yeah, peace of mind and all of that. So I'll be able to report back soon enough on how good the Noir camera is in pitch blackness.
Probably a whole lot cheaper than, you know, my Ring cameras.
And I think that was one of the big points, right? And I control it. It's mine. And only I can get at the stuff. And, you know, I can set up SSHFS as you did and just have it do a copy of all the pictures and stuff every month and then just empty out the SD card and start all over again.
Sounds good.
Yep. But speaking of Pi 3B pluses that you can't get your hands on anymore, Josh has his hands on some. What's going on here?
Well, I bought a 3B Plus way back when it came out. It sat in the box for a long time. And then I finally decided I was going to do a surveillance camera with it, and found out that I needed a camera. And I was like, where am I going to get a camera? Well, I already had one, actually. It was my USB camera. It was a Logitech. I think it was a C720 or something like that. It was. It's 720p, and it's good on the laptop that my wife was using it on. But on the 3B Plus, it took a long time for me to get a good image quality out of that. I couldn't even get it to do video at all. I mean, I could, but it was such bad quality. I had to lower it down to like nothing to actually get it to be smooth while the motion tracking was going on, that it wasn't worth it. So what I ended up doing was I ended up having it at the full resolution it could do, and then I just had it take pictures of everything for I think it was like 15 seconds after it found motion, and then it would email me those pictures to my email so I could see it. Now, it still wasn't that great because it was only capturing like maybe 5 or 6 images, but it was definitely enough to be able to see everything that's going on at the doorway because I had it set up at my door. And every time my wife would come in and out, and you would see us clearly. So I was like, okay, that's good enough for me. That's all I really wanted. And I was using Motion iOS like Leo was. And for some reason, every so often, the interface would lose like half of its features, and you couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't change the resolution of the camera. I couldn't turn the camera off and on. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even change the email address that it was sending it to. I have no idea why that happened, and I've reloaded that image on my SD card several times, and the updated versions of Motion iOS from then, and every single time after a certain amount of time it just does that, and then I can't do anything about it. The camera works and the pictures are taken and sent to me, but I can't go in and actually change anything, which I guess is kind of good. So if someone gets in there, they can't do anything. But on the other hand, I can't change any of the settings if I wanted to. I have no idea why this is happening. I didn't contact the maintainer for Motion iOS or anything, but recently I decided to decommission that because I just didn't have the time to deal with all that, and I'm going to use it as my pie hole for my ad blocker once I get it set up. I haven't got that set up right. I set it up. Everything was good. I set it as my DNS, and then it didn't work. It blocked. My internet was just blocked. I don't know what I did wrong, but I have to restart from the beginning and see what I did wrong. And
did you set your DNS on the Pi?
Yes, I set it on the Pi. I set my router to route through that, and then I set on the Pi. I set it to route through OpenDNS. So I'm pretty sure I did everything right, but it just didn't work. I couldn't get to the internet at all.
So maybe this is another video that I do, because Mark in YouTube chat was talking about setting up Pi-hole, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably because I used to do this for work. I got paid to set up DNS servers for people and all that it was just super easy for me. But the more and more I hear about people setting it up, the more issues I hear. People need help on this, man. So maybe I should do a video on this.
And I mean, I know relatively what I'm doing, but I don't know where I'm wrong. Maybe the video I was watching missed something and I just kind of followed the video and I wasn't paying attention, because I've seen that happen before where the video just misses one thing that you need that's dire to the function of it, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, but it's always one thing. And what's funny is that in admin, especially on the Windows side, anytime anybody would have a problem connecting to something, the joke, even though it wasn't actually a joke, was it's always DNS. Always DNS. It's not a joke. It is really not. We would say it tongue in cheek to everybody, to every single problem, but yeah, more often than not, it would actually be the issue.
Yeah. Like, I don't even use DNS for like naming my computers or anything. I just go through the IP address because for me it's just easier to do it that way. Then I can remember numbers better than I can remember names for some reason. But yeah, so I'm gonna get that set up because, well, I really wanted to get it set up before the election was over, so we didn't have to watch all the freaking ads. But that didn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, I have a Asus Tinker board, which is basically like the 3B Plus, but it has a Rock Chip 64 in it, I think. No, I think it's a 32-bit, because I think the Tinkerboard S had the 64-bit chip in it. But I use that as my retro gaming system because it has a little more power than the B Plus. and I use Laka on it, which is really good. Like I love it. I used to use RetroArch, but that had problems. And Laka is just a front end for RetroArch, but it looks so much nicer. And it runs pretty much any game from the 90s and back perfectly, except for GoldenEye, which is really what I wanted it for, but it's almost there. I'm getting like 15 to 20 frames a second on that with like drops down to 5, which is impossible to play that game.
GoldenEye is so hard to emulate.
I know, and that's all I want. I just want GoldenEye. That's all I want.
I think
I love
64
GoldenEye.
Nintendo 64 games in general are really hard to emulate on anything other than a 64.
It's gotta be, well, no, it's got to be really, really optimized, like per game play. Because I've been able to play some N64 games.
Oh yeah, like Ocarina of Time, no
PSP.
problem.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time, no problem.
I can play
on the
that
PSP.
on Tinkerboard. Yep, fine.
But I wouldn't even try with GoldenEye.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want.
Like,
why does
so do I.
Snap work and GoldenEye doesn't?
I just want Super Mario 64, man. I need
that's another
I need
one.
some.
I haven't tried that one, but so yeah.
Now,
but I mean, it works for almost everything else.
Now, a couple of questions here. Now, the Asus Tinkerboard, and you're using Laka Retro Gaming. Have you? Is there a version of Batacera?
I actually haven't heard of that one.
Oh, it's what I use. I had mentioned it a couple shows ago. This is what I use on that HP stream. You can do it for the Pi and all these other boards, so I would be surprised if they didn't support what you had.
Oh, yes, I remember now that you were talking about it. Yeah,
and it's so good. My daughter just all the time, she keeps
I gotta
coming
look
up to me like, you want to play Turtles? And I'm like, yeah, I do want to play Turtles. Let's go.
Oh, is that like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game that was super impossible to win?
It was
Raphael with his little tiny weapon that you had to be up on top of.
You always pick Donatello because that bow goes, it's like 6 feet
got
long.
The reach.
Yeah.
But as soon as Donatello died, good luck with the rest of the game.
Exactly. Well, Leo was close as far as his swords. They were fairly good, but yeah, once you got down to Michelangelo and Raphael, the reach was gone, man. But yeah, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time or something like that. Oh man, my favorite Turtles game of all time. It's so good.
And what was that called again? The emulator?
Batocera, Batocera.
Yeah, I have a super old ThinkPad, one of the 11-inch ones. I think it's the T110 or I can't remember, but yeah, it runs Batacera and it does a really good job.
Oh yeah, they definitely have it for Tinkerboard. I just looked it up. Yep, sweet.
It's still not going to do GoldenEye.
Whatever. No, I gave up that.
That's sad. I think I'm gonna have to just buy a whole machine that I know will do all those games that I want to play.
I know I can do it on my desktop, but I don't want it on my desktop.
Yeah, exactly, right? I want it small, I want it portable, I want to be able to hide it away and use it or whatever. Yeah, that's not my desktop, man.
It doesn't give the same feeling when you play it on the desktop. It just, I don't know, it doesn't bring you back to the first time you booted that game up and was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever.
No, exactly.
My retro gaming goodness lately has been the Sega version of Shadowrun and the PS1 version of Hydro Thunder.
Yeah, I've never played either one of those actually.
I got hooked on Hydro Thunder in the arcades way back when.
Yeah, I was. There was arcades when I was a kid, but it wasn't like it was, back. They were starting to get rid of them.
Back in the ancient days?
Back in the ancient times. No. No. They were starting to get rid of them when they were basically using the arcade area for Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments when I was a kid. So
no, there was still a couple of arcades floating around when I was younger. When I say younger, I mean like 18 to 23.
Right, that's what I meant too.
and I was traveling a lot more, and I used to play a lot of Hydro Thunder in airports because the arcades there would almost always have one of the sit-down machines, and they were pretty awesome. And then when I was in basic training, the mall, which was really close to base, that would have been Cela Vista Mall, had an arcade. And yeah, I you get some time on the weekends and go there and just blow through a roll of quarters.
Yep, I remember that. I remember that.
Days.
You'd always line up your driver's licenses on the really important games that people were waiting in line for, and that's how you kept your place. Yeah. I miss arcades, man.
Oh, they're still around.
Well, yeah, but it's not like they're not nearly as popular as they used to be. You don't need to bust out your driver's license. There's no game in there that there's 8 people deep waiting to play.
Whoa. Okay, now I'm going to name one arcade.
You're going to say Dance Dance Revolution, and I'm going to agree with you.
No, I'm not going to mention that game. I'm going to mention one arcade, and that's Rubik's in El Paso. That place on the weekends gets fairly busy, and yeah, on the popular games, there's a bit of a line.
Well, that's cool. That's
Granted,
really cool.
there's also beer freely flowing.
Oh, see, that helps. The last arcade I went to was a Chuck E. Cheese arcade. So
yeah. Last arcade I went to was Rubik's, but it's been a year.
Yep. So yeah, that's basically all I've been doing with my single board computers, I guess you would say. Yeah. So I'm gonna check out Batacera. That's definitely something I want to do.
Give it a shot. It's good stuff. Real easy to use.
Super easy to set up. It's just like running RetroPie.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our Pi Talk. We'll move on down to Vibrations from the Ether. So in Vibrations from the Ether, feedback. We got a couple of different feedbacks. One from Jim Daldry. He's talking about 2 different points. So we'll just start and hit those points as we go. So he said, I started my full-time primary computer is Linux only time in the spring of 2007 with PC Linux OS. Man, too bad Moss isn't here because I think, wasn't he just doing PC Linux OS, Tony? Do you know?
Yeah, I think he did recently.
Yeah, how funny. So he says, several reasons. At the time, if you wanted to use WPA on Ubuntu, you had to write your own Etsy WPA supplicant and Etsy network files. Ooh, wow. With PC Linux OS, you could connect with WPA while running the live CD. In addition, if you had reasonable graphics, you could enable Barrel. Oh, wow, I haven't heard that word in a long time. Barrel, using a GUI tool while on the live CD. With Ubuntu, you had to write your own X11 config file for Barrel to work. In case of confusion, Barrel was the original spinning cube, wobbly windows, etc. compositor. Compiz was a fork of it. In the summer of 2007, the Compiz project was merged back into Barrel, becoming Compiz Fusion. So, yep. I remember all of this. I was in a computer lab putting all of this together. And yeah, the wobbly windows. They are so good.
No, I hated them. No.
See, well, hold on. Let me tell you something. So in Ubuntu Studio 2010, all you got to do is go into the plasma settings and check a box, and you could turn on wobbly windows for yourself. Just so you can seethe with rage. That's good stuff. But yeah, I remember setting up Barrel. I remember the cube, the spinning cube when you were swapping workspaces. That was so fantastic. Anyway, his other point is on the YouTube DL takedown, which I did check in on yesterday, and yup, it is still not available on GitHub. So you can't just go download the binaries from there. But you know what? You know where it is available on? pip3. So yeah, there, easy, done.
Basically everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as you're not getting it
backfired.
Yeah, well, I think they wanted it off GitHub, but I think, to be honest, I think you ended up with a bit of Streisand effect because people that didn't know about YouTube DL now know about YouTube DL. So, whoops, it happens every time. I don't see how you don't see that coming. But anyway, he writes, the RIAA takedown of YouTube DL was completely flawed. YouTube is a broadcast service, one source to many people, with the many people receiving the content at no cost. The legality of recording of audio and video broadcast is established law. Audio in the 60s and the video in the Sony Betamax case. The idea of an illegal download is orthogonal to copyright law. Copyright involves the distribution of property, not reception. Napster, BearShare, Nutella, and all torrent clients all upload while they are downloading. When you're using them, you are redistributing someone else's property. Therefore, a copyright violation unless you have permission to redistribute. Not so with YouTube DL. With YouTube DL, you are recording a broadcast for your own personal use. It is no more illegal than using a cassette recorder to record Taylor Swift from your stereo receiver. Now, recording her from a record, cassette, CD, or download file is illegal, though generally not prosecuted. Recording a broadcast is not. So,
okay.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think the RIAA or anybody else that can cause a DMCA takedown give any flips about what you think about copyright law. They're just going to throw out their DMCA takedowns, and you're just going to have to deal with the fallout, and they're just going to sit there smoking their cigar, doing their fat cat thing, right?
From what I understand, copyright law is a very difficult, finicky type of thing.
Yeah.
Because technically, according to some of what I read there, if you limited your upload bandwidth to 0, then you should be able to legally do torrenting. But then again, you're getting it from a file instead of from a broadcast, but you're still not redistributing. So,
well, I think a lot of it is just the language never got updated from way back in the day, and so we're trying to make the language of the 80s fit the reality of the 2020s. And it's just really hard to do. And I think that's why a lot of folks can get away with just, oh, they stole it, so DMCA takedown, done. But the YouTube DL thing actually really centered around the fact that they were showing you how to, speaking of Taylor Swift, and I think that's probably why you wrote that in your email, that was one of the things that the GitHub CEO was literally tracking him down, trying to get him to take that stuff off of the YouTube DL README so that they could bring the YouTube DL GitHub repository back up. And well, I think that never happened, which is why it's still down. Yeah. So, you know, regardless of how you feel, I mean, it is what it is. And like I said, DMCA takedowns, I mean, the whole system is getting abused. You can see it in, what's his name? The Through the Fire and Flames guy, the guitarist for Dragon Force.
Oh, yeah, Dragon Force, yep.
That guy's Twitch got taken down for playing his own music.
So, yeah, that's all automated, though. I mean, they're listening for copyrighted music. Oh, look, he has copyrighted music. They're not checking if it's his.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. The folks that are wielding these DMCA takedowns, they don't care. They're not asking questions. They're not putting forth real, honest, looked into DMCA claims. They're just throwing stuff out and seeing what sticks. And YouTube DL just happened to stick. But the funny thing about it is it doesn't matter because you can get it from 99 other sources. And when GitHub finally rolls this back, you'll be able to get it from GitHub again too.
Wasn't there a recent kerfuffle with Twitter and basically everybody's old library getting taken down because the all of the crackdown from the what is it, the DMCA or the RIAA takedowns?
Yeah, I remember hearing something about another social network that happened to. Was it Twitter? It could have been Twitter. Yeah.
No,
it was Twitch. It was Twitch.
Thank you.
Because
Twitch.
Their whole back catalog is gone, and like they didn't tell you why they took your stuff down. Yeah, they just said, "Hey, guess what? Your stuff is down. You know, you probably should have backed it up a long time ago. Sorry, you didn't."
See, because a lot of that was Twitch. It wasn't really them doing it. I mean, they had to respond when they got those takedown notices.
Well, I mean, these folks would rather put in an automated DMCA takedown service within their service than to look at them one by one. And I get it. It's not automated easy
service.
To do.
It was an external service that was coming after Twitch in order to force them to take things down or get sued.
But what makes me laugh is YouTube DL is just a way of downloading a YouTube video.
You can use it perfectly legally.
Yeah, but these hundreds of different plugins that you can put into your web browser that do exactly the same thing.
Most of them have YouTube DL as the back end.
Yeah, that's what's funny about it is, most of them have YouTube DL in the back end. But, you know, the more important point, I think, about that is just that it was YouTube DL because they had a picture of Taylor Swift on their README. That's why it was YouTube DL. And it was Taylor Swift and somebody else. But it was because they were flaunting it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't flaunt it, and, you can fly under the radar, and, as long as you stay moderately popular instead of extremely popular, yeah, it's quite likely you'll never get taken down.
Where's the fun in that?
Exactly right. But like I said, they shot themselves in the foot. Now it's way more popular than it ever has been.
Yeah, it's still a pointless takedown. There are still other places to get YouTube DL.
Exactly. Yep. PIP3. Go get PIP3. You can have your YouTube DL, and you can have your BPyTop too, by the way.
And honestly, most people were getting YouTube DL from PIP3 because it's a more updated version and it actually works.
Yeah, it is a more updated version. I think that's the more important part as well. You don't have to manually update it. PIP3 install -- upgrade space YouTube -DL, and that'll it'll keep you up to date every single time. And every time there's a new update, just run it. Anyway, I love conversations like that. Those are really interesting things. Well, anyway, next email. John Wallace's Not So Saga. It's really on hold now. We thought it was going to be on hold before because John Wallace had his laptop sent in. They were working on it, but unfortunately, he writes, the repairers have just advised me that they have not been able to fix my Linux laptop. My plans for a multi-boot system are over, unless I can get another secondhand laptop as a replacement. Mint remains earmarked for the secondhand laptop that my wife has bought me for Christmas. I will be looking forward to installing that.
That's what external hard drives are for.
Yeah, seriously. Tony, your IC dock situation, this may be something that he could do in the interim.
Well, it just depends. If he's got a desktop machine, he could stick an IC dock in a tower in one of the 5.5-inch bays, and he can swap out as many 2.5-inch drives as he wants. You don't even have to get the one I've got. Mine's a 4-port one, but you can get single port or dual port ones.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could do that with one of those toasters where you have the hard drives just like plugged into the top of the thing, and you plug it in via USB. I imagine you could do that.
Basically, any external hard drive that you can get set up, John, just set it up, and as long as your laptop itself can boot off of USB, which most of them can these days, there are very few that are limited in that way anymore. But just run your dual boot that way, and then you're leaving the main system alone and letting that just work, and the external drive runs your secondary or tertiary operating systems.
And if you've got USB 3 on the laptop, you could get a 2.5-inch SSD with a USB to SATA converter and use that. Absolutely.
Or an M.2.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah, and it'd run nice and fast, and you can just swap out the different SSDs and have as many as you want.
Or have a large SSD with multiple operating systems on it.
Yeah.
Now we're talking like MOS.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. A few of us were multi-booting before MOS came along.
Yeah,
okay.
That's true.
I'll give you that.
Honestly, I worked all the multi-booting out of my system a long time ago, other than if it's for a necessity.
Well, John, just write back to us and let us know if you need any help with doing any of that kind of stuff. If you can get your hands on one of those, that'd be pretty fantastic. We're happy to help. All right, well, outside of the Telegram ramblings and the Discord ramblings, that'll wrap it up for the feedback. So we'll head down to check this out. All right, in this version, in this episodes, check this out. I've mentioned at the top of the show, or if you're listening in on your podcast catcher, in the last episode about Go, as in Van Gogh, a bash script to colorize your terminal. So it's fantastic. You run the script. I've got the command in the show notes. It's the whole thing that you just copy paste that and run that. I know, copy pasting commands on the internet, but it is good. It is good. I did deep dive into the script to see exactly what it's doing, and it quite literally all it's doing is adding in colors. The main bash script reaches out to get other bash scripts, but those bash scripts are also just profile colors. So seems to me to be pretty safe to run this thing. So anyway, you run this, and it gives you a list of like 400 profiles to choose from. And like I said, I've fallen in love with Dracula and Monokai Soda. They are both such fantastic profiles. And I'd mentioned before that pink and purple and the pastel versions of those colors are just not used nearly enough. You might not like them, but man, I have fallen in love with them. And it's just so good. It is so absolutely good. Cool thing is you are able to just clone the whole repo if you want, and you're able to run it locally. So the command that I've got in the show notes is if you have internet access. So if for some reason you're trying to do this on a machine that doesn't have internet access, you'll need to clone the whole repo and then move it over to that machine to be able to do this. But either or, it is fantastic. Monokai Soda, go! So good.
No, I was just going to ask, is there an easy way to do a custom color?
How do you mean?
Like, if you didn't want to go with Dracula or anything like that, could you like set up your own customized color palette?
Yeah, actually, if you're not afraid of a tiny bit of bash, it is super simple.
Okay.
To add another line at the bottom of that thing, name it, Josh's profile, and then host another SH file, point it to the right shell file that contains the profile. And yeah, it'll take care of itself. So I mean, yeah, you gotta be okay with a little bit of bash. But other than that, yeah, you absolutely could. But the other easier way to do that is just quite literally customize the profile within your terminal and save it. That would be the easiest way to do it. This is just a way to get your hands on 400 of them at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think the last time I was customizing the colors in my terminal was when I was playing MUDs regularly. So I'd say that would be mid to late 90s.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was just tinkering with these pies for, I mean, I don't know, it's cumulatively a handful of hours. So I was staring at text in a terminal for a long time. And I'm like, this is the most terminal looking I've done in a long time. I kind of want to change these colors. So yeah, this came across my radar. It's fantastic. I loved it. I pulled down like 20 profiles, and I'm only using like 2. But it's just an easy way if you know what you're looking for, color wise. It's just an easy way to try it before you buy it.
Yeah.
Anyway, next is Full Circle Weekly News. If for some reason you just want the news without any commentary, banter, opinion, any of that, you just want the news straight from the news desk, check it out. I've finally I waited, right? I've been doing this for, I've been pretty consistent for the past couple of months, but because I wasn't consistent prior to that, I wanted to make sure that I could be consistent before I shouted it out again. But yeah, for the past couple of months, I've been just a few days behind the actual news. So if you're just looking for news, like I said, check out Full Circle Weekly News. It's a podcast, 3 to 5 minutes every single week, and it just gives you a roundup of everything that's happened over the past week. Real easy to listen to, I think. If you want to hear more of me, that is. And my last thing is, I mentioned at the top of the show my video for enabling snaps. That's out there. If you need to enable snaps on Linux Mint 20, because it's enabled pretty much everywhere else, yeah, check out that video. It'll show you how to delete the one nosnap.pref file that you need to remove, and then just sudo apt update and sudo apt install snapd. That'll take care of you from there. But if you're wary about doing that, that video will walk you through the entire thing. So Joe, you teased me about I needed to watch this. Why do I need to? What is this?
Okay, this is a custom terminal. and it's called Edux UI. And this video is the guy that got Edux UI running on the Raspberry Pi, and he does provide the because he had to compile it himself. He does provide that so that you can just go and get it and make it run. It makes your terminal look like the interface from Tron Legacy.
What?
It's
okay, hold on.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. When I first turned on the Dracula theme in the terminal, I was getting strong Tron vibes, and that is one of the reasons why it made my top 2 list. So, okay, you're speaking my language.
All right. Well, this has a not a lot of people were big fans of Tron Legacy. I thought it was awesome, and right there in the beginning,
it is awesome.
When he's first interacting with the computer before he gets sucked into it. This is that style of interface. In the center, you have the terminal where you type your commands, and then around the edges of it, you have your CPU usage, your time, your date, basically a top showing what's running, your hard drive's memory usage, and then on the bottom you have all your different folders, and you can click on the folders down there in the bottom of that terminal, and it will automatically send the command to your terminal to take you to that folder. So it'll do the CD and then full path for you. And then there's an on-screen keyboard, and then there's on the right-hand side you have your network status and your IP address, and it gives you a globe, like a pixelated globe that's just all dots of light showing the different continents, and it will actually show the location of your IP address, which even he says in the video is a good way to see why you need to occasionally use a VPN. And then your network traffic and a couple of other things, and it just looks really cool. And it actually, other than looking really cool, seems to be extremely useful.
Well, you had me at looking cool, and then I think you might have caught me with extremely really useful.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah. Speaking of more terminal goodness, I was really thinking about buying the cheapest screen that I could possibly get my hands on, whatever size, whatever. Hook it up to like my Pi 1, because I've still got one of those kicking around, and just running tmux on it. So I can SSH into all of my machines and just have bPyTop running on all of them, so I could just have cool terminally colors floating around all over the place.
What you're looking for is a backup screen from eBay, usually $15 to $20, usually between 5.5 and 7 inches. To get used on a lot of mobile Pi projects.
Well, let me, for perspective, I saw a 42-inch flat screen LED TV at I forgot where for like $140, and I was like, you know what? I don't even care what the quality is like on that, because all it's going to be doing is showing me text anyway, and if it burns in, oh well. Like that.
Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, seriously, I picked up a 65-inch TV. Granted, it was a plasma, and I don't like the noise that it makes. All I needed, because the HDMI board was burnt out, all I needed was a composite adapter, and it works great. And then I'm also, today, at 5 o'clock, I'm going to be picking up a 47-inch TV with a line across the bottom, a horizontal line, which is probably just a ribbon connector that I should be able to fix. I'm getting that for free. So definitely keep a look at Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, will do. So,
either that or swing by and pick up one of these damn TVs.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, so I'll report back if I ever come across a cheap screen and do this tmux magic. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. That's it for the show. Why are we so early? What happened?
Less people, and Joe didn't do a whole lot of bi-weekly.
Well, Owen will be happy. We kept it to about an hour for the front and the back half. So, hey,
he will be, as long as it doesn't take him too long to reline the audio up at the second half.
Yeah, well, we got ourselves a 3210 in there, so I think that'll make it way easier.
Right.
But yeah, swap out an extra hour of editing for 10 minutes of lining something up. I think that might be a decent trade-off. All right. Well, that'll do it for the show. So our announcement is our next episode will be Sunday, November 29th, 2020 at 2 p.m. Central Time. Check the website. We'll have a link for you to convert it. Actually, you don't even have to convert it. Here's the cool thing. Londoner puts this link together, and you click on it, and it finds out where you are, and then just converts it automatically. So when you get to the website, it's like, hey, here's the time of the show. You don't have to type anything, do anything, click on anything. It just tells you. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Sure.
Next show, are we doing that book review we were talking about?
Oh, see, I don't know if I can actually get through the book that fast. But you know what? I will give you progress reports. But what Joe's talking about is we wanted to go through Kevin Mitnick's book. What is the
Art
title
of Invisibility.
The Art of Invisibility. Yeah.
Y'all think we're paranoid? Read that book.
Ooh, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It's I love that kind of stuff. So I'll keep some tabs on it and let you know. Anyway, so mintcast.org/livestream to get that link, and you can see when we're going to be doing this all over again. All right, well, Joe, where can we find more of you?
Well, you can pick me up on a couple of my other podcasts. The Linux Link Tech Show, which is at www.tllts.org. Or you can catch me on the Linux Lugcast, www.linuxlugcast.com. We are recording next Friday for that one. Happy to have anybody that wants to join. You can find me on MeWe, or you can send me an email directly, jb@mintcast.org.
And Bo is not here this time, but you can get him at undercastnetwork.com, or we've got a link in here for the Undercast Collective that you can find on YouTube. Or if you just hit up the mintcast YouTube channel, we've got a link there too. Moss as well, not here, but you can get him at Peaceful Hippo. It's Moss, MeWe, at Bardic Triad on Twitter, blogs on Peaceful Hippo, Linux Questions, Stream with Bandcamp, YouTube, Robert Warren's YouTube, Moss at mintcast.org, DistroHoppersDigest@gmail.com, and his sponsors. That is a long list. Wow. Tony Hughes, what about you?
Yeah, you can get me on through Hacker Public Radio. I'm host ID 338. I do my occasional blog, tony-hughes.blogspot.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm TonyH1212. You can get me at th@mintcast.org, DistroHoppersDigest@gmail.com, and I've recently been doing a series on podcast production for the Full Circle magazine, and we're up to episode 4 in November. So go check the last few articles out over the last few months.
Very cool. You know what? Linux, the MintCast, I guess. We took over Biddle. Now we're taking over Full Circle. We're just going to be everywhere, man.
Yeah, Moss has had a couple of articles in Full Circle recently, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty soon, man, we'll be everywhere. So, Tony Watts is not here either, but tw@mintcast.org, or just look him up. Echoes of Savages, the band. Josh, what about you?
You can find me on joshontech@protonmail.com. You can email me there now that I fixed it. And you can get me at JoshOnTech on Twitter and most other social sites.
Very nice. And for me, leochavez.org, where I finally posted a post that was sitting in the background forever. At Leo Chavez on Twitter, leo@mintcast.org. Listen to linuxuserspace.show, or listen to, for a 5-minute news digest, Full Circle Weekly News. But before we leave, we want to make sure to acknowledge some of the people who make MintCast possible. Owen Peary for our audio editing, Josh Lowe for all of his work on the website, Hobstar for our logo, and Londoner for our fantastic time sync. Also, Bytemark Hosting for hosting mintcast.org and our Mumble server, archive.org for hosting our audio files, HPR for our backup Mumble room, and of course, the Linux Mint development team for the fine distro we love to talk about every single fortnight.
Thanks, Clem.
Thanks, Clem. And Co.
Okay,
Wow.
stopping my recording.
Yay! Well,
that must be
there
one of the
was-
shortest episodes we've done in ages.
Yeah, ages is right. I don't know, man. I'm thinking
almost one episode instead of two.
Yeah, this is probably actually, you know what? I wouldn't feel too terribly bad about putting this out as a single episode. We're not going to do it. Sorry, Owen, but but this does make it so much easier to edit, man. So much less to listen to. Fantastic though.
I don't even know how those guys get it down to like 30 minutes. Like, how do you do that?
You just shut up. Like me. I seriously, I just keep talking. Like I just need to shut up sometimes, and we could probably have it. We could probably have it 2 hours every single time if I didn't.
Well, that also was like a really super short innards for us.
Yeah, it was really.
It came out to about 35 minutes though. So
it was still a reasonable length.
Yeah, that's the right size, I think. I mean, overall. Well, I mean, those of you that are listening in the live stream right now, there's still a handful of you. What do you guys think? Was 30 minutes for our main segment in each half is that about right? Is today's show about right, or longer, or shorter? I guess I'll pose this question on Twitter and Telegram and Discord as well. But well, as for still having time in the day to go do stuff, shorter is nice. But as for
getting
me not
to bed
shutting
at
up,
a reasonable time as well.
Also, Tony does need to get to bed eventually.
Oh, sleep is overrated, especially when you're retired.
Yeah,
it is nice though.
Sleep is for the dead.
Well, Dan Simmons says it was a good link.
My Audacity.
But me and Dan fight with Joe and Rocco to keep the thing under 1 hour in the first place, and I don't think we've actually been successful. I think our shortest show has been like 1:16. So and I think it was the first show that I edited. Linux User Space.
Talking about Biddle, you mentioned Biddle earlier on. Did you see the announcement that it's going on hold for a few weeks?
I was wondering where it went.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, well, at least I have plenty of time to do Pi stuff on a Saturday. Ha-ha! It worked out for me. But it is kind of sad that it's on hiatus for now. But yeah, I'm sure Rocco will be back, and I'm sure there will be more Biddles to go to and more Biddles for me to crash at 8 p.m. my time.
A couple of good comments on Pies in the stream. Looking at YouTube.
Yeah. The stream was a bit more active today. I appreciate that.
Dan's saying it was a good length. Shrug.
Yeah. Dustin got his pie stolen after making it into a... Oh, wait, no. Was that the right one? It's jumping around a little bit. People are saying, yeah, Dustin made a retro pie out of it, and his son stole it. Oh, and Mark wants a complete pie hole tutorial video?
Yes. So I was talking, I'd mentioned it in the show where I was like, so do I just, maybe I could just make that into a video or whatever. It is pretty involved. That's the thing about pie hole, and I think why people leave stuff out. Because it's everything. Pie hole can do everything.
Yeah, it can.
You have... Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people really struggle with. When you set up a pie hole, it's not your router. So it's already by default not doing your DHCP. And for the love of God, if you turn on DHCP on your pie hole, it starts to fight with your router. And it becomes a battle of latency to who's going to give you an IP address. And then the pie hole is probably giving out wrong stuff in the first place.
Yeah, I wouldn't turn DHCP on the pie hole.
But
unless
could be what
right, you could.
Yeah.
Unless I had a PC that I was using as my main router. And then... I might use the Pi-hole for DHCP, but most of the setup for Pi-hole is you set it up and run it, and it works fine. And then you have to add a bunch of ad sites, which you can pull from elsewhere.
But we missed the point that I was trying to make, which is you got to log into your router to configure this if you want everybody to use it.
Right.
And that's where people really fall down, because it's like, my what? I log into what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
it's your router. And then you log in and you go here and you click on this, but every router is different. So there's no telling exactly where to tell you exactly, go here, go here, go here, go here. Like you have a Netgear, you have a Belkin, you have a
Right.
Linksys,
It's
you
all
have a
different ways.
no name. And so that is really what gets people. And making a video about that, like I can't show you exactly what you're going to encounter. So that's what makes that hard.
All I can show you is what I encountered.
Right. And I think it all snowballs into you got to understand what you're even doing when you're changing these things in DHCP on your router to make it play nice with DNS on the Pi hole. And just there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into this that this is why it's hard. Not because Pi hole is hard to install. Literally one script, and you gotta, one line, done.
Make sure not to set up your secondary DNS on your router, because otherwise you're just bypassing the Pi hole entirely.
Yeah, exactly. So I point my router to my Pi hole, and then my Pi hole points out to the internet. So it adds an extra.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
But I mean, it works. I run Pi hole on a VM. I don't even run it in a Pi.
I run mine on a Pi 0W.
Yeah, and that's fine. Wait, over wireless?
Yeah, I mean, it's not actually passing any network through it.
Well, no, but the wireless latency. I think
it's sitting within. It's actually plugged in on USB on the back of my router. That's how close.
That's what mine is. That's exactly how I have mine set up.
I'm just. I think the network admin / whatever in me sees the extra 12 milliseconds of latency, and I'm like, someone's gonna call me about this. Someone's gonna say my internet's slow, and I'm gonna be like, yeah. So this is why I'm like, I'll just do it on a VM where I get 4 or 5 tops milliseconds of latency, and then I'll just leave it alone. But it's hard. Infrastructure is hard.
Can you run Pi-hole straight in the VM, or do you have to run like Raspbian and then?
There's a Docker version. Yeah, there's a Docker version of Pi-hole.
Yep, Docker too.
Oh, huh. See, I didn't know that.
The same bash script that you run on the Raspberry Pi is the same bash script that you run on Ubuntu. There's actually intelligence in that bash script where it will find out what version of Linux you're using, and it'll install the right stuff for you. So it's really cool.
So I could technically install Ubuntu on my Raspberry Pi and just install it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do that because the guide I was following said to use Diet Pi because it's a lot smaller.
Oh, you could
image, right? But I don't know. What
does it matter? Space, like.
But I trust Ubuntu more to keep it updated and everything. Like I don't know.
Diet Pi, it's really well vetted, honestly. There are so many people that have used it and so many different setups that it can do that I'd be inclined to trust it just as much as I would Ubuntu.
All right. Well, I'm definitely got to figure it out because I want to get rid of these ads because my parents have cable still, so we log into the different channels through their cable, and that all has ads, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's good to do. It blocks a lot of ads, but it won't block YouTube ads. In order to block YouTube ads, you need something like AdAware on Chrome or Firefox.
Right, yeah. Well, it's okay. I can deal with that, but man, the freaking ads on those TV sites are so annoying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pi-hole doesn't even get them all, though. I mean, if you're running without an ad blocker on your browser, you're still going to get YouTube ads and a few other things. But I mean, it does knock out a lot of them, which is really, really nice. But what I realized is I don't know if it's because of my skin color or where I live, but YouTube likes to give me ads in Spanish. And I'm not fully bilingual, man. Like I know enough Spanish to get me in trouble, but I don't know that much, man. Don't be giving me Whataburger ads in
I've
Spanish.
gotten that too, though. Like I've gotten Spanish stuff, and I'm like, I'm the farthest thing from Spanish.
But still, it's like, dude, I don't even know what you're trying to sell me half the time.
No, sometimes on YouTube they'll just straight up give me YouTube videos in Spanish as recommendations.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. It's so funny.
I am definitely not bilingual. I know enough Spanish to get me in trouble.
Yeah. I grew up around it, so I mean, I am nowhere near fluent, but I know when you're mad at me, and I have a general idea of why. But yeah, speaking it back and knowing exactly what to say, that's really tough for me to do. So, nope.
once in a while I'll have my VPN set up in another country and like a website will come up in a different language, but I understand that.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, because it looks like you're coming from Germany or wherever,
Right.
so I
And I'll be
get
like,
German,
oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I've uploaded my audio. I'm going to get out of here.
I guess I need to do
Yeah,
that.
actually, yeah, huh? I need to
Yeah, I
stop
almost
my
forgot to
thing.
turn
I set
off
up
my
the-
Audacity, and then
I
Oh,
set
good.
up the export.
Good. So maybe Owen can find some funny bits with me and you at the back, because I forgot to turn off my Audacity too.
Hope we don't need to use the backup mumble because it's in 2 bits because of
That's
my
all right.
crash.
I think we are golden.
Yeah,
I think we're
we'll
going to be
all
good
right.
this episode.
Yeah.
Go audio. Is there no 340? Okay, there's a 348 folder.
Well, those of you that are still listening live, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us for this not short but short episode of mintCast. It's just the right size,
Plenty of
Goldilocks
extra
size.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we ended up
Not
having
too
a
hot,
whole
not
another
too
pie
cold.
hole. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
But-
all of this should have gone in the innards.
I know, huh? Well, I mean, well, you know what? We need a pie hole episode. We just need a pie hole episode.
That sounds good.
This
And-
is
once
the
I get it set
bonus
up and know how to use
content
it.
for the
It
live
is.
listeners. This is what
Yeah.
we do.
Oh, for the
Si-
paying customers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
paying
For the
ones.
paying
Yep, yep.
customers, go over to the YouTube channel, get this one. This one is free. First one's always free. All right, y'all. Thank you again for listening live. It'll be shutting down in just a sec.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
What am I going to do with so much of my day left?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm cooking some chicken. That's what I'm going to be doing in a minute.
I guess I'm going to work on a TV.
Yeah, you keep getting all these things for free and fixing
Yeah, I
them
know,
and
man.
being
You're
able to sell
you're
them
like
for
crazy.
100, 150 bucks. It's great.
Well, if I can sell the TVs, I mean, you got to remember, I'm in a fairly affluent neighborhood, so yes, I can get things for cheap because people just throw away things that I would still